I got a notification. $5,080 luxury resort package confirmed. Turns out my family booked a full vacation without me using my miles. When I asked, my sister said, "You always hoard points. We made use of them." I froze the account, canceled every booking, and called the resort directly. My mom called in a panic. "The front desk is saying we don't exist." I smiled and said, "I found out my family stole $5,080 worth of my travel points through a push notification. The worst part, I hadn't booked a damn thing. I was at my desk in the middle of a project meeting when the notification popped up. I clicked into my rewards account and felt the blood drain from my face. Everything was gone. Every mile I had saved over the last 3 years just gone. 2 luxury suites, 6 nights, spa appointments, golf, a sunset dinner cruise, first-class flights from LAX. It wasn't just a vacation, it was a graduation celebration, and I hadn't been invited. I scrolled through the confirmation details, heart pounding. The booking had come from an IP address I recognized immediately, my parents' house. A week ago, Mom called, said, Dad was dealing with a medical bill issue tied to some old travel insurance, and they needed to get into my travel portal to find the documents quickly. They didn't want to bug me with it. Just needed the login for an hour, she said. I gave it to them. I wasn't expecting them to steal every point I had. I called my sister first. She answered like she'd been waiting for it. "Oh yeah," she said. "We use your points. You always hoard them. It's for my graduation, so we figured we'd make use of them." No shame, no apology, like I was being unreasonable for even asking. I didn't say anything else. Just hung up. Then I went full lockdown. First, I froze the account, changed the password, 2-factor authentication, kicked out every device linked to it. Then I picked up the phone and called the Four Seasons directly. Gave them the reservation number. Said the booking was made using stolen credentials. There was some back and forth. They don't like losing a $5,000 booking, but eventually they can let it. Every dollar of those points was returned to me, and that was when the calls started. First my sister, then my mom. I didn't answer. I waited, let it build. Then I finally picked up when Mom called again from the airport. "We're at the resort. The front desk says we don't have a reservation. What's going on?" I said, "Yeah, that's because you don't." I canceled it. Dead silence. Then I ended the call. They were still on the island with no place to stay, bags in hand, in peak season with 2 of my sister's friends tagging along, all thinking they were about to spend a week in paradise on my dime. That was just day 1. I wasn't close to being done. By the time I turned my phone back on, they were already stranded. 16 missed calls, 12 texts from Mom, 4 from my sister, 1 from Dad. My voicemail icon was lit up, too. I ignored all of it. I went straight to their messages. "Mom, we just landed. What's happening? They're saying there's no booking. This has to be a mistake." John, answer. "Your sister is crying. You are ruining this trip for all of us. We didn't deserve this." Then a message from my sister. "Wow, you're a real piece of work. You always act like you're better than everyone. We just wanted to do something special." Then about an hour later, I got a Venmo request from her. $1,500. She labeled it our share of the hotel since you're being insane. I stared at it for a good minute, then hit decline. Added a smiley face emoji just to be crystal clear. These weren't people who made a mistake. These were people who had planned this, thought it through, took the risk because they assumed I'd never do anything about it. They didn't even bother hiding it. The day after they landed, I got another call. This one from the Four Seasons concierge. I picked up out of curiosity. The man on the other end sounded confused. He said my guests had shown up in person, insisting there had been some mistake. They were now asking if the reservation could be reactivated or if I changed my mind. I told him the booking had been canceled on purpose, that I didn't authorize any of it. I asked him to note the file that I wouldn't be reinstating anything. He understood. He even sounded a little amused. That night, I got a single text from Dad. "This is beneath you." That one actually made me laugh out loud. I had no intention of letting this slide, and I wasn't going to limit it to just canceling the trip. The next morning, I logged into my bank account and canceled the monthly auto payment I'd been sending for the mortgage on the condo they bought for my sister last year. She was still a few months from graduating, and the whole deal was that I'd helped cover it until she got her diploma. The place was under my name, my parents' name, and hers. I paid half. I didn't even live there. That deal was dead now. I checked the date. Rent was due in 5 days. They'd have to figure it out on their own. By mid-afternoon, Mom texted again. The mortgage company says the payment didn't go through. Did something happen with your bank? Yeah. I stopped being their doormat. The final piece that day was utilities, electric, water, internet, all under my name. I logged into each provider, disconnected my cards, and removed myself from the accounts. By 5 p.m., the dominoes were lined up. I didn't send a warning. I didn't explain. I knew they'd figure it out when the first utility bill arrived unpaid or when they tried to log in and realized the password had changed. At 8:42 p.m., Dad called. I let it ring. Then the voicemail came in. Calm, measured. The kind of voice he used when he was trying hard not to yell. We clearly had a misunderstanding. He said, "We'll talk when we get back. Face to face." No, we wouldn't. They landed 2 days later. All 3 of them back in LA. No hotel stories, no spa memories. Just 3 angry people dragging their luggage back into a condo I just turned into a sinking ship. I checked the shared calendar we'd once used for payment dates. They had 5 days before the next round of bills hit. 5 days before they realized just how much of their life I'd been quietly keeping afloat and how fast it could all go dark. They came back from Maui and disappeared. No calls, no texts, not even one of my dad's passive-aggressive articles sent to the family group chat. Just radio silence. Like if they didn't say anything, maybe it would all go away. I figured they were regrouping, trying to come up with a new angle. They'd always been good at spinning things, especially my mom. Her specialty was turning betrayal into misunderstanding, but this time they weren't dealing with the version of me they were used to. 3 days passed. Then I got the first signal that the house of cards was wobbling. An email from my mom. Subject line: "Let's talk before this gets worse." There was no message, just a screenshot of a shut-off notice from the electric company. Final warning: suspension scheduled for Friday. I didn't reply. A few hours later, my sister messaged me. "You made your point. Can you please turn the power back on? I have finals next week." No apology, no acknowledgement, just a request. As if it was my job to fix this. I replied the next day. No, I didn't make my point yet. After that, things started accelerating. That afternoon, I got a notification from the rental property portal. Someone had tried to reset the password. My name was still listed as the primary tenant. I logged in, locked it down, changed the recovery email and disabled autopay. Then I sat back and waited. Dad called that night. I didn't answer. The voicemail started calm and escalated fast. Said I was being vindictive. Said this was all over some vacation points. He actually used the phrase, "You're burning everything down over nothing." That's when I realized they really believed that. They thought what they did was small. They thought they could decide what mattered to me. I'd been bailing them out for years. They knew that. When my sister's car died, I helped get her a used Honda. When my mom maxed out her credit card during the holidays, I paid it off just this once. When my dad wanted to upgrade the old TV in the living room, I Venmo'd him half the cost without being asked. I never kept score. I assumed it was just how families worked. But this time, when I gave them access, they didn't just cross the line. They sprinted past it, laughing. And now they were shocked I'd noticed. The next day, I took it further. I remembered the lease on the condo was ending in 6 weeks. It was technically a month-to-month rollover at that point, but the original lease had a clause. Any renewal required my signature as the primary. I pulled up the file, reread the details, and sent a short email to the property manager. Told him I would not be renewing. Didn't give a reason. Just asked for confirmation the unit would be listed for new tenants starting July 1st. He replied the next morning. Confirmed. Said thanks for the heads up. Just like that, the clock started ticking. They had 6 weeks left in that condo. No power, no water soon, no guarantee of shelter after July. And still no apology, no phone call where they admitted what they did. Just silence broken up by guilt tripping and requests for things to go back to normal. But normal was gone. This was the new version of me, the one they taught me to become. For days after I canceled the lease renewal, the slow panic started to show in their tone. It wasn't anger anymore. It was something else. Uncertainty. It started with an email from my dad. No greeting, no warmth. Just the subject line, lease issue, urgent response requested. In the body, he wrote about how the landlord had contacted him and how there seemed to be some confusion. Said, I may have mistakenly submitted a non-renewal. He used words like miscommunication, family coordination, trying to spin it like I'd accidentally pressed the wrong button. I didn't reply. A day later, Mom called. I ignored it. Then another call. Then she left a voicemail. Her voice forced calm. Hey, sweetie. I think something got mixed up with the condo paperwork. Just call us. Okay? We'll fix this together. There was nothing to fix. I logged in and checked everything again. The lease was done. The landlord had confirmed it would end June 30th. They'd already scheduled walkthroughs for new potential renters. The property was live online that afternoon. I got a ping from my sister. First time she messaged me since Maui. No apology, no acknowledgement, just are you actually kicking us out? I didn't sugarcoat it. I wrote back. I didn't kick you out. I just stopped paying for you to stay. She replied almost instantly. You can't do that. I have finals. I have nowhere else to go. I read it twice, then closed the app. I used to feel guilt when she said stuff like that. When my mom guilt tripped me into feeling like every decision I made that didn't benefit them was somehow cruel. But not anymore. I'd been keeping them afloat for so long. They forgot what it meant to swim. Later that night, I reviewed every shared account I still had with them. Spotify, Netflix, Amazon Prime, Hulu, even the Disney Plus account they used to babysit my cousin's kids. All still active. All paid for by me. So, I changed every password, logged out every device, revoked every access point. Then I sent a final message to our family group chat. If you're looking for the Netflix password, it's not yours anymore. Then I left the chat. They didn't reply right away, but the silence didn't last. 3 days later, I woke up to a full barrage. Dad left a voicemail saying he was disappointed I'd reduced everything to money and that this wasn't how family treated each other. He actually said that after using my travel miles, my money, my generosity, and tossing me aside like a bank account with a smile. Mom sent a long text. She said I was breaking her heart and that I was punishing them for a mistake that didn't define us. Said she raised me to be better than this. I didn't reply, but my sister's message came last and it hit different. I don't have anywhere to go if we lose the condo. What am I supposed to do? I stared at it. Not because it changed anything, but because deep down I knew she hadn't thought that far ahead. None of them had. They thought I'd get angry, sure, but they also thought I'd get over it. That I'd come around. That I always came around. But this time I didn't feel like a brother. I didn't feel like a son. I felt like a stranger watching a family scramble to clean up the mess they made with a match and a smile. And they were running out of time. 2 weeks left. I wasn't counting out of pettiness. I was counting to remind myself that I was finally following through on something I'd let slide for years. They were going to lose the condo. Not because I kicked them out, but because I stopped pretending they deserved it. Up until now, they thought they had time, that I'd break, that I'd get over it like always. Then something happened that I didn't expect. I got a call from my old high school teacher, Mr. Harris. He taught me economics back in senior year and kept in touch through social media every once in a while. He sounded hesitant. Said he'd run into my mom at the grocery store, and she told him I was having a hard time. Said I'd cut myself off from everyone, was lashing out, and get this, might be struggling financially and taking it out on the family. He asked if everything was okay. That's when I realized they weren't just hoping I'd forgive them. They were setting up a story for why it wasn't their fault when I didn't. They were preparing their version of events for anyone who asked, and they were painting me as unstable. I thanked him for calling, told him I was fine, and hung up. Then I sat with that for a long time. They didn't just take from me. They turned me into the villain for not letting them get away with it. That night, I logged back into the condo utility dashboard. The electric bill had doubled. They'd stopped conserving. Probably figured they wouldn't be the ones paying. I turned it off manually. The next morning, the angry text came flying in. My sister first. What the hell? The power's off again. Are you trying to screw us before finals? Then, Mom, this is dangerous, John. You're being cruel. You've made your point enough. Then something I didn't expect. A message from my sister's friend, Lisa. She was one of the girls who had gone to Maui with them. I didn't even know she had my number. She wrote, "Hey, I know we don't talk, but I think you should know your mom is trying to get a GoFundMe going for temporary housing expenses and saying you left them homeless. It's starting to get attention." I froze. I opened Facebook. Sure enough, there it was. A photo of the three of them standing outside the condo, arms crossed, sad eyes, with a caption that said, "Family in crisis after sudden eviction. Help us stay safe." $140 already donated. One of the donors was my aunt. I didn't get angry. I got focused. I screenshotted the post, all the comments, and every message they'd sent me where they admitted to using my points. I grabbed the original resort confirmation, the cancellation, the lease documentation, everything. Then I messaged Lisa. "Thank you. I'll handle it." I didn't blast them publicly. That wasn't my style. I contacted GoFundMe directly and submitted a fraud report, attached all the documentation. Within 12 hours, the fundraiser was taken down. Donors were refunded. Mom called me again. I let it ring. Then a text. "How could you do this to us?" I didn't reply, but I did call the landlord the next morning. Told him I'd be scheduling the final walkthrough myself. "I wanted to be there in person," he said. "Sure, but won't that be awkward?" I said extremely. "That's why I'm showing up." 1 week left, and they still didn't think I meant it. June 29th. I pulled up across the street from the condo 10 minutes before the scheduled walkthrough. Sat there in my car, windows rolled up, watching the front of the building. No movement, curtains still closed. It looked the same as it always had, like nothing had changed. But everything had. At 10:58, the property manager arrived. Tom, mid-40s, always polite, but not the kind of guy who got in the middle of family drama. He gave me a nod, clipboard in hand. "You sure you want to be here for this?" "I'm sure." We crossed the street together. I stayed behind him as he knocked. Once, twice, then a third time. Still nothing. "Standard procedure," he said, unlocking the door. We stepped inside. They were all there. My mom sitting stiffly on the couch. My dad standing near the kitchen counter. My sister slouched in a chair with her phone in her lap. No suitcases, no boxes, nothing packed. Like they were still pretending this wasn't real. Tom started walking through the unit, making notes on the condition, scratches on the wall in the hallway, carpet stains, a small chip in the kitchen tile. My mom followed a few steps behind, arms crossed. "This is ridiculous," she said loud enough for me to hear. I didn't respond. Tom opened the bedroom door and paused. Everything was still there. My sister's closet full of clothes, posters still on the wall, her laptop charging on the desk. He looked at me. "You said you gave notice 2 weeks ago, right?" 2.5. He nodded and wrote something down. Back in the living room, my dad finally spoke. "You really want to do this? Make a scene for the sake of proving something?" I looked at him. "There's no scene. The lease ends tomorrow. You all knew that." My mom cut in. "We've been trying to get in touch with you. You could have handled this privately, quietly." "You mean the GoFundMe?" I said. That shut her up for a second. Tom raised an eyebrow, but didn't say anything. He finished up his checklist and told them he'd be back tomorrow at noon for the keys. If the place wasn't empty, he'd begin formal eviction paperwork. My sister finally stood up. She hadn't looked at me the entire time. "You're just going to let us be thrown out?" I looked around the condo, the furniture I paid for, the internet and power I funded, the rent I covered for 1.5 years. "I'm not throwing anyone out. I just stopped cleaning up after you." She scoffed and walked into the bedroom, slamming the door. Tom thanked me quietly as we stepped outside. "You did what you had to do," he said. I didn't answer. Back at my place, I checked my phone. 10 new texts, mostly from extended family. Someone had clearly revived the story now that it was actually happening. Some of them scolded me. Some begged me to reconsider. One text stood out from my cousin Emma. I used to think you were too nice. Guess you finally learned to say no. I didn't reply, but I smiled. Later that evening, I got a single text from my mom. We're leaving in the morning. I hope you feel good about what you've done. You've broken this family. I thought about that word broken. They broke something the second they used me and called it love. I checked my rewards account. Miles untouched. Balance intact. I booked a one-way flight to Florence. Business class. Window seat. Their vacation was on my back. Mine would be on my terms. Florence was everything I hoped it would be. Quiet mornings. Espresso on a tiny balcony. Walking through streets that looked like paintings. I didn't check my phone much. I didn't think about them. I didn't care to. But 2 weeks in, something strange happened. It started with a call from an unknown LA number. I ignored it. Then a text came through. John, this is Michael. We met once at your sister's graduation party. I'm not sure if I should even be texting you, but I think he should know what's happening back home. I stared at the message, debated deleting it, but curiosity got the better of me. I replied with a simple go on. Michael sent back 3 messages, each more bizarre than the last. Apparently, after getting booted from the condo, my mom had moved back in with her sister. My dad stayed in a cheap extended stay hotel outside the city. My sister, though, she had vanished for a bit. Turned out she was staying with a guy she just started seeing before Maui. He was older, like mid-30s. No one in the family liked him, but he had a place. And then she tried something I didn't see coming. She filed a small claims case against me. Her claim, emotional damages, willful abandonment, and financial sabotage. I read that last part twice. Financial sabotage. Michael said she'd been talking about it at a mutual friend's party. Bragging that she was going to make me regret ever humiliating her, that she'd tell the court he left us homeless out of spite. I laughed. It was ridiculous. I had texts, screenshots, confirmation emails. Hell, I had a digital paper trail a mile long, but still she'd actually filed. And somehow they scheduled a hearing. I spent that night in my hotel room rereading everything. Part of me wanted to fly home right away, but the more I thought about it, the more I realized something important. She wasn't trying to win. She was trying to drag me back, to force me into contact. I didn't fall for it. Instead, I contacted a lawyer friend I knew from undergrad. Explained everything. He laughed too. You'll win this in 10 minutes, he said. But I'll handle it. You stay where you are. A week later, he attended on my behalf. I didn't even have to appear. He called me after. She showed up late, unprepared, and pissed. He said the judge dismissed it in 5 minutes. Not only that, your sister's out of pocket for the filing fees. I didn't respond right away. Then I asked, did she say anything? He laughed. Yeah. When the judge walked out, she said, he thinks he's above us just because he has money now. She still didn't get it. It was never about money. It was about respect, the kind they'd used up a long time ago. I stayed in Florence another month. Didn't hear from them again, but I knew that wouldn't last.